Darian Ray, I'm
Mr.
happy you're here with
Simmons.
us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me here, bro.
Yeah, you are one of the OGs, one of the first people that I ever worked with. And it's because we have a very interesting situation of how we met, which is very uncommon and unlike almost any case study that probably exists out there.
Yeah, dude.
So, how the hell did you get into writing LinkedIn content and how did you start as a ghostwriter? What's the story?
Yeah, dude. So I was in essentially audio engineering school. Some people call it music school, whatever you want. And you were a professor there. And I just remember so vividly, man, like during some classes, you'd throw in a little something about how you were ghostwriting. I'm like, what is that? Or like in between breaks when we take like a little lunch break or whatever, you would say, oh, I gotta check Twitter or do some. You would just throw in these little things, and I'm listening, and I'm just constantly like, okay, I'm curious. So one day I just decided after class just to stick around and ask you. And then you told me you were ghostwriting. I'm like, oh, that's sick, because I was coming up. I was about 8 months away from graduating, and I didn't really have a plan after that. And so that's how we met. And then that's how I started like hearing about ghostwriting, because you were just doing it, man. And yeah, just stuck around after class, man. And you just told me, and I was like, that's sick. I want to try that. So that's really
Yeah.
it.
Dude, it is crazy to think that you were a student when I was a college teacher before we ever like worked together outside of that. And since then, you've been able to do some pretty incredible things. On LinkedIn specifically, what are some of the notable accomplishments that you've achieved in the past few years that you've been writing on LinkedIn?
Yeah, dude. So I would say first and foremost, because we're doing online business, I would say hit multiple 10K months organically through LinkedIn. So no ads, no nothing like that. So like, of course, right? Because we're doing business, so revenue is going to be the first one. The second
With
was,
how many followers as well?
dude, I was at like 7,000, 6,000 when I hit my first 10K month.
Damn,
Yeah.
damn.
And something we'll get into later, like my approach
Yeah.
to LinkedIn versus, a lot of people have a different ideology. But yeah, so that was the biggest. And then the second would probably just be hitting 10K followers, because not so much just like the follower number, but just kind of what it represents, me showing up on LinkedIn consistently,
Yeah.
just the consistency of really just building something and not stopping. So I'd say those are the two biggest ones.
Yeah, you did it all organically, no pods, no paying for comments or like hacking the algo. It was just 100% organic to 10K, which like
Yeah.
few people nowadays do, which is like
Yeah.
damn impressive.
But
Yeah.
much, much slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
That's
didn't
like the
stop
slower
you. It didn't
No,
didn't
God,
stop you
no.
from getting to that 10K per month mark, which a lot of people like that's the goal that they have. Like once I hit 10K, I've pretty much made it, right?
Yeah.
So for you,
Absolutely.
what was that process like from, let's take it all the way back from when you found out, hey, you can write on LinkedIn and make a career out of it, and you were probably like, that sounds insane, all the
Yeah.
way to you having your first 10K month. Like, what was that process like?
Damn, dude. I mean, it was such a journey, man. But I think one of the things you and I have talked about this obviously in private before, but one of the biggest things, man, with you and just seeing what you did was just like showing that it was possible. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, is they don't have that belief, right? So when I saw somebody I knew in real life tangibly, like I shook in your hand, like you were my college teacher, do it instantly, it wasn't a doubt in my mind, like, can I do this or can I not do this? Like I saw you do it. I'm like, why can't I? So that was sort of like the foundational thing, is like seeing someone do it. And the belief was there. So once I believed I could do it, I'm like, okay, I don't really care how long this takes. I'm going to like learn all the skills. I'm going to write every single day, like hand copied every single day. I mean, you probably remember how crazy I was with how much I was writing, and I just went
Yeah.
deep, man, deep. And so I was really in the beginning, man, just focused on skills. I had like quite a bit of money saved up after college. So I was pretty much in a position where I could probably go like 6 months without getting a job. And now I know like, there's that conflicting advice on like, do you go all in or do you work part-time till you whatever? Like I had finished school. There was no point. I just was like, I knew I was going to do it. I just had the utmost belief.
Mm-hmm.
So every single day, man, just waking up early. I was like started waking up at 5 a.m. and just like working on the skills. So just writing, showing up on LinkedIn, making sure I posted every day, and just becoming a student of all the skills it takes to get good at online business. Because, it's one thing you get good at writing. Okay, great. Now, let's say like you get an inbound lead. Oh, okay. Now I need to like set up a call link, and now I have to do a sales call. So each step required a new skill. And so I was just constantly just working on the skills, and that was my only goal. It wasn't even like, of course I wanted to, be financially independent on it, but my goal was just skill based. Like that was it. I just wanted to be the best writer that I could be, and that was it.
Was there any obstacles to you learning these skills that in hindsight really got you down, maybe mentally, or made you feel like this is a lot more work than I expected? And if so, how did you overcome any of the obstacles in the skill acquisition phase?
Yeah, man, that's a good question, because I don't know. I grew up playing basketball and breakdancing. Those were like my two main things, and they're both very skill-based things. So I've kind of always known that if you in breakdancing, if you want to get this new move, it's going to take you months. And a practice every day. And same thing with basketball. It's a very skill-based sport. So I didn't really have any challenges in regards to like setbacks, because I knew this was hard. Like I knew that I'm not going to just expect to be like making a bunch of money online and like I just am entitled to it. You know what I mean? Like I kind of knew that it was going to be something that I had to really go through, like struggle, but not just like a specific conflict, because I just knew it was going to be hard, just to be 100% honest. So I can't think of anything. Like, yeah, there was, of course, days where I'd wake up and I didn't really want to hand copy for half an hour. Or some days I didn't want to post on LinkedIn or engage on LinkedIn, or of course. But I don't know if I'd really call those like big challenges. I think my Colombian connection lost there. Did I glitch out there for a sec?
Oh, you're back now. It's okay. That Colombia Wi-Fi.
Yes, the Medellin Wi-Fi. What was the last thing I said, though?
The last thing I heard was you didn't always want to get up and handwrite copy for 30 minutes in the morning.
Yeah, so like, of course, there's challenges in regards to like the daily things where like some days you just don't feel like it. You don't want to engage on LinkedIn or whatever. But in terms of like the skill stuff, like I just knew it was going to be hard, accepted it, and just kind of sucked it up. Yeah.
There's a very stoic approach that you have, which is, this is going to be hard. This is my entire career. This isn't just like, oh, you just go write online and become a ghostwriter, or like launch an offer and stuff just works. Like people dedicate their whole lives to getting good at this. I like that you had that thought process going into it, that this was more than just a side hustle. This was the main thing, and that it was going to be hard, but that was okay, and you were still going to pull it off. Like it just seems like that was so integral to keeping you disciplined, because you are one of the most disciplined writers I think I've ever seen. How else do you maintain your discipline?
Yeah, thanks, dude. And yeah, I mean, that acceptance going in is huge. But in terms of maintaining the discipline, it goes into kind of what you were just talking about, like mission and purpose. So those are two things that I'm really big on, and I have them written down, and I read them every single morning, like every morning. What is my mission? What is my purpose? Because yeah, like I said, some days, bro, like this, you don't want to write, or you don't want to do sales calls or client calls. Like there's just days, we're human. And so it's like, okay, like what is the real reason I'm doing this? And then like, what is the mission that I'm on? Like I'm on a mission to build generational wealth. Like nobody in my family has ever built generational wealth, and I want to be the first, and I want to make sure that my kids are set up, that my mom's good, my grandpa's good, like my whole family's good. Like that's my goal. So when I wake up and start working, it's like deeper than just me. And like, yeah, of course I have smaller goals, like being is the best writer I can, the best consultant I can be, but it goes deeper. And that's how I stay disciplined, because it's beyond me.
You have the strong why. I love that. So generational wealth is such a big claim. It's just like, damn, this guy's going to make a lot of money. When you started writing on LinkedIn, how did you start to make money online, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, so it was actually interesting, because it had nothing to do with ghostwriting or what I'm doing now. I saw a little gap, and a couple of the creators that I knew at the time were getting bigger. Their companies were growing, and they didn't have time to do their comments. So I was like, okay, I'm not making any money right now. I need to get some income coming in. I'm still going to work on these skills, but why don't I solve this problem for them? They're also my friends, so it's just makes sense. And I just started doing that, man. So I started doing their comments. At one point, I had like 5 clients that I was doing it for. And so I hired one of my friends to help me. And him and I were just doing that for a while. But it was great because I was making income, building relationships closely with bigger creators and networking. So it seemed like a no-brainer, even though the work wasn't fulfilling or necessarily like moving me towards like my ultimate goal. It was a stepping stone, right? So
it's almost like you started not ghostwriting content, but ghostwriting comments.
Dude, that's exactly it. That's literally exactly it. So, but it was a need.
When people say the niches or the riches are in the niches, this is like the most niche offer ever, which I love because clearly it did meet a demand and there was a need for it. Are you able to share how much did you scale your commenting agency to? Like how much were you able to make with that offer?
Yeah, dude. So essentially at the peak when we had the 5 clients, 2 of the clients like I had been with for a while. So we started at 800 and then a couple of them, the rest of them were 1,000. So per month it worked out to be like, yeah, just under 5K.
So 5K a month. And how much work were you doing per day? Like how long did it take to do each client?
Yeah. So the agreement we had, it was like an hour a day, Monday to Friday. And so it would be around their posting time. And so what I would do is like half hour before I'd comment. And then when it went live, I would comment. And so when I hired my friend to help me, I was doing 3 and he was doing 2 people. Mm-hmm. And so it was an hour a day each. So for me personally, I was doing 3 hours a day.
Damn. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Like for the amount of time you're putting in, the amount of money you're making, like, dude, that's pretty sick. Which it sounds like that then gave you the time to focus on getting better at content and growing your own account because you were really only working 3 hours a day to sustain yourself.
Yeah. So it gave me so much, like I'd wake up before that, do like my copy work, do the engagements. And then after I would have to do my own engagement stuff. But man, there was something that was really interesting with it as well, is it gave me such like, because I'm just spending so much time like on LinkedIn, like 3 hours just doing that.
Yeah.
Kind of, it gave me a lot of insight into sort of like what content is working. What like niche topics are these certain people doing? So if you would look at, because a lot of these people, just to be transparent, were in engagement groups, right? And pods and stuff. So I would see like a lot of big creators in this thing. And I would look at, okay, he's in this finance niche. Like, what is he talking about? And I would just like, I kind of like got to dissect the game from like a higher level because the only people we were really engaging with were other bigger creators. And so it gave me like a really good glimpse into like what is good content, what topics are doing well, how are they writing these posts, what kind of images are they using, like sort of like a nerdy way to dissect it. Like, yeah.
No, it sounds like it allowed you to sustain yourself and acquire the skills and do the market research. Like it's a great entry level little micro business, as I would call it, like a ghostwriting commenting agency, to get started and stack those skills. What were some of the biggest obstacles in you making your first money as a ghostwriter, even if it was ghost commenting, and some of the big obstacles that you've faced in getting started on LinkedIn, making money on LinkedIn, growing your business? There has to be some that stand out that
of course,
were really difficult.
Yeah, of course, man. So it's, of course, like the biggest one is getting that first client, right? You have zero social proof. Nobody knows you. Essentially, you have no authority. You're essentially a scam to them. Like nobody knows you. It's whatever, right? So getting that first client was the biggest obstacle. And so obviously doing the engagement stuff, the ghostwriting comments really worked out well for me just to get, like we talked about, that network, that relationship, like understanding and becoming friends with these bigger creators was great because a lot of opportunities will come through just network, right? So that would be the first one, just getting that first client. The second one is just working without seeing an ROI, man. that's like it's a mental battle. It really is
Yeah.
because yeah, man. And we've talked about this in the past on another call, but I'd love to talk about it again because I remember reaching out to you after like I was like 4.5 months in. I hadn't landed a client, like 4.5 months considering once I finished college, and I hadn't landed a ghostwriting client. And I remember just reaching out to you. I'm like, man, like I need to see something, bro. Like this is crazy. I'm putting in so much, and I remember like just kind of frustrated and a little bit defeated. And we had a great conversation. You kind of put things into perspective for me, and that was like a big turning point for me. Just understanding how the game truly works, and also just understanding that like you're not owed anything, man. You don't deserve anything, and nobody owes you anything. So you just you got to keep pushing.
Dude, I love that you bring up that conversation because it's one that I haven't forgotten. As it's probably one of the most important conversations that I've had happen since I got into coaching and helping other people, become ghostwriters and write content on LinkedIn. The way that I remember it was you were frustrated because you had been getting followers and building your audience, but you hadn't made any money yet. And I think you said something along the lines of like, look, man, followers like don't add to my bank account. Like I'm not here for followers.
Yeah.
So with the rest of the story, how do you remember it? Like what was the advice that I gave that shifted the perspective for you?
Yeah, of course. And by the way, I still die on that hill. I still teach all my clients that. Like, it's not about the followers.
Yeah.
I will definitely die on that hill, and I've proved it with my own story. But what you said to me, yeah, man, a couple things. So I think the biggest thing was just putting things into perspective. Like, hey, man, like you're just getting started, man. And if you really want to do this business thing, it's a long game. Understand that you're just getting started, man. It's okay. Like, there's lots of money to make. There's lots of people out there. Just you relax. It's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing was just like explaining to me more about how you worked for free, right, for however long it was. Like, it's quite a while, I remember. And yeah, like you sometimes you got to get skin in the game, and it's okay, man. Just don't stop. Essentially, you just were like, if you quit, then you will fail. But if you keep going, like you're gonna be good. So just don't stop. Don't stop is really was the message I got.
Yeah, it's really tough because until you have the experience, it's hard to look back on that. But I had a similar thing happen to me as well. So it was like I was chatting with the younger version of myself who was just getting started in business. But I'm pretty sure that we had said that, nothing happens and then everything happens.
Yeah.
And wasn't it like a month or two later that you had your everything happen moment?
Yeah, dude. I think it was 2 months after is when I hit my first 5K month. So,
Damn.
Yeah. And it was just like, you're just
in 2 months.
Yeah. Cause it's like those 5 months, once again, as you know, like I was genuinely like trying my hardest. I was posting every day. Like I wasn't just saying like, dude, I'm trying, and I was putting in a lot. And so sort of was like collecting that sort of, like that compound interest, so to speak. So it was like building up in the background. I just didn't see it. And so when it got to that end, I think one of the like things you mentioned was the hockey stick curve, right? And so like that's the analogy you gave. So the hockey stick curve, and I just remember it happened pretty quick, man. 2 months later, making 5K a month, and I haven't gone down since. I've never had a below 5K month since that. And that was like, I don't know, man, 20 months ago or something.
Wow. That's an accomplishment in itself. Because it's one thing to leave your 9 to 5, but it's another thing to not go back to your 9 to 5. That's the real win, which you've achieved that.
That's the goal though, right? I mean, if we're going to do this, like, let's do it. It's like you said, this is like my career. I'm not just doing this just to do it. It's not a side hustle. It never was.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're determined. That's why it's going to be so awesome when we see you making that generational wealth. You're just early in the process.
Yeah, very early, man. I'm thinking 10 years out.
So a question that I have for you is, we had a very unique situation when it came to mentorship because, we're obviously friends as well since you were a student when I was a college teacher. I believe you took my ghostwriting cohort back when it was in Stealth. That was teaching you about the content and everything. You've been on like quite a bit of coaching calls. So we used to do one-to-ones as well. I actually forgot about that. We used to do weekly one-to-ones for quite a while. I'm curious, looking back, what were some of the best lessons that coaching taught you, and when it's helping you get into your ghostwriting business, and what were some of the biggest obstacles that it helped you overcome?
Yeah, dude. So the biggest lesson for sure was just writing content in general, because it's just a whole different thing, right? When you don't come from social media or marketing background, like writing content is just, it's a whole new world. So that ghostwriting cohort specifically, you went really deep into like the concepts of, you know, broad markets, like sub niches, like how top of funnel content works, and just like the actual like fundamentals, so to speak, of how to actually approach writing. So that to me was like the foundation, right? Because all your writing is going to stem from that. So that was like the first biggest lesson, especially for as a writer, right? And then the one-to-one calls, man, the biggest lesson still to this day is definitely going to be, I think you called it, you had a name for it. But it's essentially when you're looking at top creators' content and you're taking it and you're like deliberate deconstruction, I think you called it. Is that right?
Yeah, deliberate deconstruction.
Yeah, that's what you called it. So deliberate deconstruction. So just like finding top performing content in hopefully your niche, right? And like looking at the hooks, like what topics are they talking about? What problem is it solving? What is the benefit, the reward for reading? All of these things. And then being able to like take that and then write your own around these types of things. I think to me, that was probably the most valuable thing, because it just mitigates risk on your end of content flopping, really.
Yeah, so true. Well, something I come back to more and more, because I don't always take my own advice, is doubling down on deliberate deconstruction, making sure we're writing about mainly validated ideas, stuff that's working, stuff that people actually want to read, right? Like whether you're a writer or a ghostwriter or whoever, like you do have to write stuff that other people read. Like you're dependent on that. So that's a tip that I come back to just over and over and over again as something so fundamental. So I'm happy to hear that it stuck that much with you, because I wish it stuck like that with all the other students.
Yeah, of course, right? But hey, man, I mean, I guess we all pick and choose what we decide to like apply and listen to. But, and even just to think a little bit more about that, it's the whole taking your own advice thing. I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things, especially if you're coaching a lot. You're given a lot of advice. There's only so much that you can always keep top of mind. But I also think with the deliberate deconstruction, it's kind of tricky, because myself as a musician as well, I really love that creative aspect to what we do is online business owners and writers. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're not just everything you're writing is just validated ideas, sounds like everything else, because then you just sound like everyone else. So I think there is a fine line there of making sure that you have that creative thing and talk about things that genuinely just interest you and things of that nature. But obviously that's a whole another 5-hour conversation we could have.
Yeah, that'll have to be saved for another day, because you and I, especially both being creatives, could get really, really deep into that one. So I guess because I want to be conscious of your time, so I have a couple rapid fire-ish questions. I find there's people that write on LinkedIn take one of two routes. I'm going to go the viral route and learn to write top of funnel viral content, or I'm going to go the lead gen route and I'm going to figure out how to write leads for myself and clients. You've taken the lead gen route. What's the big difference between viral content and lead gen content?
Yeah, so to me, the biggest difference is specificity and relevancy to whoever your offer's for. So when you're writing lead gen content, like as simple as I can say it, is it's literally you just take who is your dream client, ICP, avatar, whatever word you want to call it. What are their pains? What are their desires? What are their fears? And that's all the content you write around. So even your personal stories are relevant to those fears, desires, all of that. Whereas virality, of course, it's top of funnel. It's broader topics that appeal to more people, like life advice, health advice, things like that. So that's the biggest difference. And the biggest pushback I always get with all my clients is like the FOMO, right? So because what's going to happen when you start writing targeted content is what I call it, is your numbers are going to go down, right? You're speaking to less people. So you are going to get less likes, comments, impressions, and they're worried about that, but that's obviously not the ultimate goal.
I love that. Because it's true. If you're going to do lead generation for yourself and clients, you do have to know that it's not a flop when the post doesn't go viral.
Yeah.
And that's hard to stomach. No matter how much you know it. It's when the post doesn't do that well on the timeline and you're like, oh, people are seeing this isn't going viral. It doesn't look that good. Or I seen this other person go viral, but it's leads. It's a hidden metric. It's a totally different ballgame. So I love that you brought that up. Okay, as like a final question for you. You seem to be pretty big on mentorship. I know you've taken many mentorship programs since we've even worked together. For anybody who's thinking about mentorship, becoming a ghostwriter, potentially working with myself and Dale and Dakota, what would your advice be to them or your thoughts on mentorship?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's an absolute must, man. I mean, it just depends really what you want, because I don't know, just there's so many different things, man. But first things first is, of course, just the old adage of it's an investment, not an expense, right? Because you got to think, if somebody has the results or has done something you want to do, like, why would you not just pay to shortcut it and learn from somebody who's done it, right? It doesn't make sense not to do that, is the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is just, are you willing to actually put in the work and apply it? Because, like, for example, this last summer, man, I spent $10K in coaching and in mentorship. And I literally went into it just like, I am dumb. Everything you tell me, I'm going to apply. Like, essentially, of course, I'm not. There's certain things like of course, but you know what I mean? So I went into it just like, you have built something that I want to do, and I'm going to just listen to everything you tell me to do and just apply it. And I notice even now with my clients who, you know, my offer is $4K for 8-week program. And even people who pay me that $4K, man, like, they're still like resistant to apply what I'm telling them to do. Yeah. And I'm just like, you paid me $4,000. Like, this works. Like, I have 30 case studies, like 30 testimonials. Like, it works. And there's still that thing, right? So the biggest thing I would say is, if you're going to invest in mentorship, understand it. Like, you have to just apply what they're teaching you, or like, why are you doing it? Just to say you did it. So that's the biggest thing.
I love that, because I take a similar philosophy with mentorship. You know, Dakota helped me get into ghostwriting. I've always been a big fan of mentors, by no stretch of the imagination am I self-made either. And the more I do mentorship, the more I do realize it's so uncomfortable to do something new, to change your behavior. It might feel like it goes against your brand, or that it just feels wrong or really uncomfortable. But I love your way of putting it. It's like, I'm dumb, you know what I should do, I'm just going to do it, and I'm at least going to give it a shot, and I'm going to listen to the advice for as long as I do this program and see how it goes. I think that's incredible advice for anybody looking to try something new and become someone new as well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't know anyone who's successful that is self-made, really. And even back to the deliberate deconstruction, man, like, when you told me to do it, I just started doing it, and it started working. Like, my content started performing better. I started, like, you know what I mean? I just did it. I'm just like, okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, it's just being humble enough to admit, you know, that you don't know everything. Just humility is going to go a long, long way.
I love that. My last question for you, because we haven't talked about it yet, is, you're currently in Colombia, Medellin, living the digital nomad life.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of people dream of. What is the digital nomad life, and is it what you expected?
Is it what I expected is a good question, because I didn't know what to expect. But I came here specifically because I've always wanted to learn, like, Espanol. And so what better way to, like, fully immerse yourself in that than just go to another English speaking country? Mm-hmm. So that, in that regard, like, there's so many cultural differences and stuff. But when it comes to the actual nomad life itself, man, I think personally, I love it. I've actually had my biggest business months every time I've gone to travel, like, leaving my home city, because you constantly get people asking you to hang out. Your mom wants to see you. Like, it's just like, there's so much. And, like, shout out to my mom. Like, I love her, but there's just, like, only so much time, especially if you have bigger goals. And I think it's just allowed me to just really just focus on what I need to do at this current phase in my life. But yeah, I wouldn't regret it for anybody who wants to do it, because you're just going to learn a lot about yourself, especially if you do it solo. Like, I'm here by myself, so it's like a lot
Crazy.
to learn. Yeah.
You are living a version of the dream.
A version, yeah. But I am excited to go home. I am going home in 2.5 weeks, and I am excited.
Yes, and we live in the
Yeah.
same city, so it'll be fun to hang out and go do some ice baths and saunas again. We've missed you.
Can't
Good
wait,
to have you
dude.
back.
I actually can't wait. Like, I'm so excited.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Darian.
dude.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. It's always fun chatting with you. For anybody who is interested in checking you out, chatting with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, just on LinkedIn is my main channel. Pretty much run everything through there. So just Darian Ray, whatever Talon tags me in here. Hopefully he spells my name right, and then you'll see. You can just search that on LinkedIn, and yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome. Darian, thanks again.
Dude, thank you, man. Thank you for everything, bro.
Of course.